Hi, everyone. Welcome to All Things Dating and Relationships. We have May with Catch Matchmaking joining us tonight. Hello, May.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, Jeremiah, my co-host, isn't going to be able to make it, so we don't have the male's point of view. So if any of you guys out there are listening and watching and you want to jump in and join us, feel free. And that goes for you ladies as well. All you need to do is make sure you are signed into your Blab, or I'm sorry, into your Facebook or your Twitter account. And you can go ahead and join us in the video conversation or in comments. So, May, you picked a great topic, one of my favorites, which is marriage minded or just dating. Now, it's
Very popular topic out
very,
there for the
yeah,
ladies and for the guys.
yes. What do you see as the biggest point you want to drive in with this? Because I know we've talked about it a little in passing ourselves, but what do you want to drive home right now as the biggest point for marriage minded or just dating?
I think really mainly we work with a lot of women who are in our database, and we hear a lot of stories when they come in and they say, gosh, I've wasted so much time with this guy, with that guy, and whatnot. So I guess part of the reason why I wanted to touch on this topic is because I kind of want to let the women know that, hey, if he's not marriage minded or worthy of you, then let's move on. No hard feelings. It's just don't waste time, especially if you want a family and you want kids and you want to start second chapter of your life.
Right. And
Right.
I see that a lot with people that not necessarily I take on as clients, but people who are just curious about what I do. And what I mean by that is the ones that I actually work with tend to be more marriage minded because they're investing both emotionally and financially in working with a matchmaker. But the ones that are just curious and kind of poking around and asking questions, it's kind of an indication that they're not really making a priority out of it.
Right, right. Same here. The men are our paying clients and the women join our database for free, but that doesn't mean we don't want to help the women out there as well, just because they get to go on the free dates. So, yeah, it's a great
Right.
topic.
It
Hot
is, it
topic.
is. And I do mine a little bit differently because I take on both men and women as clients, and my database is open to pretty much anyone who wants to submit a profile. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be matching them. It's kind of just a database, if you will, that I use and access when I'm doing a VIP search for my paying clients.
Right, right. Great.
hmm So yeah, it's kind of unique because we both pretty much have the same philosophy. If they're taking it more seriously, then they're going to be proactive and actually go forward and join us in the process of finding someone. But just submitting a form to me is just kind of, well, maybe we'll see if it works. It works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
hmm
Yes, same here. Yeah, it's the people who take the next step that really, anyone who comes through our door that says, May, I'm looking for a wife, help me, I want a family, those are the guys that we have the really high success rate with, the ones who say they want it and tell
Yes.
me their intentions. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So as far as, the singles that are out there watching and listening to us tonight, what are some of the behaviors that you recommend they look for in order to determine whether or not somebody is marriage minded or just dating?
Well, being that we've been doing this since '07, this is strictly our experience coming from the matchmaking world. So hopefully I don't
hmm
offend some of the people out there, but there's some signs that women and men should look for to know if their partner, the person they're dating, is marriage minded or they're just dating around casually. So a lot of times the red flags that they should look for is if a guy doesn't say I love you, or she doesn't say I love you back, or no one says anything and it's already been going on for 9 months to a year. I think that's a huge red flag. So when you want to have children and when you want to start your future, you need to find someone who has the same goals as you, same interests, same compatibility, someone who talks about the future, someone who says, gosh, would love for you to meet my parents someday, or my best friend Joe, I just want you to meet my best friend Susie. Like talking about the future so they picture you in it, not just someone that they see on the weekends and have fun and have sex with. And it's someone more than that. Those are two major things. If someone sees the future and talk about the future. And after 6 months, if they're not talking about where this relationship is going, or if you don't talk about being committed exclusively, that's a huge red flag too. So, but a lot of times I get it. We're in relationships and we choose to ignore some of these yellow or red flags because we're hopeful, we're romantic. So we want to kind of convince ourselves that there's nothing wrong in these relationships, that, oh, this is the way it is. He's just taking it slow, or, well, I'm not comfortable talking about the future either. So they're making these excuses and justifying the guy's behavior or the woman's behavior because they don't want to rock the boat, or they're afraid to have that conversation or to be an adult and be mature about it and talk about it. So those are some of the things to watch out for.
Yeah, and I want to add one other part to that too, May. You know, after you've been seeing someone for about a month, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, one of the things that I tell people to look for is what I call reporting. And what I mean by that is, are you reporting what's going on in your life to that other person? When something good happens, do you share it with that person? When you've had a bad day or something negative has happened, do you share it with that person? And if you find yourself actually reporting to that person, then you're giving them the indication that the relationship is progressing, it is going towards that direction. However, if you're on the receiving end and you're not seeing that reporting, then it can be a very clear red flag that there is not the intention to go forward and progress.
I completely agree. I mean, relationships aren't just about reporting in when you need to check in because it's Wednesday and you have a date for Friday or Saturday. It's the day-to-day things. It's communicating, it's keeping in touch, whether it's via text or phone calls during the week. It's not just, I'm only going to call you if we're going to make plans, you know, like you want to start building that relationship where they're on the top of your mind. So if you're thinking about him or her, you call them or text them, or, oh, I just drove by this pizza place and thought of you. How's your day going? You know,
Right.
or how was your day today? How was your meeting today? You told me you were nervous about that presentation. Like, how did it go? And ask questions and share. So yeah, I get it. Some people just have these walls up and they don't become vulnerable or don't talk about these things, and they just have a relationship that's on the superficial level. So that's where no wonder they're uncomfortable talking about being exclusive after 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or 9 months. So yeah, I completely agree.
Well, let me ask you this. It leads to a very serious question of who should be dating.
Who should be dating? People who are wanting to be in a relationship. Who says I want to be in a relationship? They should be dating. People who are going to be staying in town, not moving. Someone who's not married should be dating. I guess I could explain more about who shouldn't be dating rather than who should be dating. The people who shouldn't be dating are the ones who are still married. Sometimes we get men who contact us and they haven't even filed for divorce yet, or they're not even legally separated, and they're already coming to a matchmaker. Oh, I just split up with my wife. I just moved out 3 weeks ago. It's like, wow, that was like a 10-year, 15-year marriage. It's okay to take some time and work through some of the stuff and get to know yourself before you come to a matchmaker. Because if you come to a matchmaker, it means you're serious. I'm going to find you your wife. I'm going to look for your next relationship, your girlfriend, your next boyfriend. So the people who shouldn't be dating are the ones who are still married, the ones who are legally separated but still residing in the same home under the same roof, the ones who haven't worked out their issues with their ex, if there's still anger issues between the two of them, the ones who don't have a good babysitter on standby. You know, those people should not be dating yet. Someone who's in between jobs probably shouldn't be dating right now. They maybe just got laid off. they're a little bit hurt, or maybe they have stuff going on in their head they need to work out. Maybe they just got dumped by somebody. Those are the people that probably shouldn't be dating right now. If you just got dumped, you might have something to prove. Hey, I want to go meet some hot girl to post on Facebook so my ex-girlfriend can see it, or a friend of a friend can see it. Like, those people probably shouldn't be dating if you have something to prove right now.
And you know, it's funny with the list that you just gave, these are all scenarios that I know I see on a pretty regular basis. They're all people that do walk through my front door at the office, and they do say that they're ready for dating and they're serious about it. But usually after about 30 minutes, I can pretty much gain a good temperature gauge, so to speak, as to where they're at. And, you know, I don't know about you in your particular situation, what you guys do. But I usually recommend coaching for those people, and I take them through a whole coaching program, whether it's divorce recovery, breakup recovery, or just kind of dating skills and learning who they are and who they want to become, so that when they are ready to start dating, they have the proper tools and they can do it successfully, rather than setting them up for failure and just saying, oh, okay, let's match you.
But sometimes people walk through our door and they don't think anything is wrong with them. Some of
the
guys who come in, they're like, I don't need date coaching, May. I just want you to set me up with the cute women who are kind, sincere, and genuine. That's all I want to hire you for. They don't think there's anything that they need to work on. And that's fine if they don't think there's anything they need to work on. But like you said, eventually it'll come out after a date or two, after having a conversation with them. And I can't say that we do just matchmaking without the coaching. I mean, that's not even possible with all the matchmakers out there. It's hand in hand.
It really is.
After every date, every feedback, it's date coaching, whether they call it date coaching or not. You know, it's really just talking is date coaching. You know, the emails back and forth, the advice you give them is date coaching. So but yeah, sometimes the guys who come in, they're like, there's nothing wrong with me, I just have trouble meeting women because I'm too busy. I don't want to do online dating, I'm too shy. And you know, or some people are overweight and they don't want to admit that being overweight is an issue. And then I just have to ask them the question, like, well, who do you think is looking for you? Because that's going to shed light to who is attracted to you. So just because you hire a matchmaker does not mean that I can now set you up with women who are 8s and 9s and you are a 5 or 6. You know, it doesn't work that way just because you put money in front of me. So
exactly. You know, and one of the things that I tell everyone is there's, you know, no chance of you asking for anything unless you are prepared to offer it. So you can only ask for what you can bring to the table.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Let's see, who else should not be dating? Well, I come across some people who are moving sometimes, and they're saying, well, I'll go on this date, but just so you know, I'm going to be moving in maybe a couple months. I might have this great job offer. It's like, well, if you know you're going to be moving, you probably don't need to start a new relationship right now. It's okay. Wait till you move to your new area. You're going to be overwhelmed with the move. And next thing you know, you're going to be flaking on this guy or girl on dates. So it's probably not the best idea. Then on the other hand, I get people who go out on dates and nothing's happened yet. They just apply for a job, let's say in Seattle, and now they're telling their dates, oh, there's a chance I might be moving, and they haven't even gotten a first interview yet. So, you know, there are some things that you probably shouldn't be telling people if nothing's happened yet.
Right. Yeah. I agree. So if we can make the determination of who should be dating and who shouldn't be dating, I guess the next topic is, how do you know if you're ready to pursue someone? You know, how do we go about that pursuit?
Well, if there's even a slight interest, a little bit of a flutter in your stomach, or a little bit of butterflies, or some kind of small spark chemistry, then by all means, please pursue her. If she's cute, for you, if you're attracted to her, if she has this amazing smile that you want to go after her, by all means, pursue her. The second question would be, how do you go about pursuing her to make her want to go out with you? And, you know, men are hunters, women want to be pursued. We are the prey, whether we want to admit it or not. And we want men to pursue us, and because we want to feel special, right? Like everyone wants to feel like a princess or someone spoiled. And but how do you pursue a woman to make sure she says yes on the date? Well, I have some ideas. Those are mainly give her an offer she can't refuse. Like, is there a place she's always wanted to go see? Like, is there a play she's always wanted to go see? A musical, a museum even? Is she new to the city and you want to invite her out to go do something to spark her interest so she won't say no? And I don't know if that's tricky or whatever, but if a guy asks me out and I've always wanted to go to, I don't know, Magic Castle, let's say, or to the Getty because I'm new here, I've never been, I'm going to say yes. It's better to go with someone than to go alone. And you learn a lot about someone on these long dates. Even though I don't condone 2 or 3 or 4 hour dates, it's still a nice way to break the ice. Like, you both have an activity to do. And activity dates are great. That's a great way for you to see if he gets along with the ballet guy or the people who work at the museum, or just people in general, the public, how he interacts with the public. If someone cuts him in line and, you know, in front of the restrooms or something, you know, so there's all those things. But
well, also the patience, can they wait in line?
right, right. But yeah, all those things. Give her offers she can't refuse, you know, make it close to her. If it's geographically desirable for her to just get dressed and drive 5 blocks versus meeting you in the middle because you live so far away, make it easy for her. Hopefully she'll say yes. So all those things are great to pursue her. And she wants to feel special and safe. And who doesn't like a confident guy? If you say, you know what, Denise, I'm gonna take you out to this great restaurant. Oh my gosh, they have the best Italian food there, and this, oh my goodness, this wine, it's amazing. You have to try it. Are we on for Friday night at 7? Like, say it with confidence, you know, make her
Exactly.
curious. Gosh, what kind of wine are they serving over there? You know?
Right.
So there's a
But and I
lot of
think
ways
that's,
to
yeah, and
pique her
that's
interest.
a very key thing to say here. It's worth repeating, is confidence. Confidence
Right.
is sexy. There is
Yes.
no doubt about it. So if you're feeling like your self-esteem is a little down and you need a confidence booster, do something, do anything before you ask that person out. But gain your confidence first. I cannot stress that enough. You know, the guy who's
Yes.
going to get the date is the one that comes off as confident but not cocky. And somebody, you know, who is going to, like you said, take the time to figure out what it is that she can't say no to.
And on the lines of confidence, I know a lot of guys who go out on dates and they're kind of bragging, you know, not, I guess they kind of cross the line with confidence to arrogant to bragging. But
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of women get turned off by it, but hopefully the women will kind of overlook that, because if the men aren't bragging or exuding that type of confidence, that means they're not trying to impress you. So if a guy rattles off, oh, I'm the VP of this company and I just bought this new car, and he's listing all these things so you are impressed with him, not because he's cocky. He could just be nervous on the date. So hopefully the women out there will give him a chance. Like, hey, you know, he's just trying to like woo you with his abilities and how great he is. But I hope some women out there take this advice to heart, that he's just probably nervous on the date and he's just rattling off a bunch of great things about him, because how else is he gonna, like, you know, convey all these great things about him on a date that's 60 minutes or 90 minutes. So hopefully some women
Absolutely.
won't take that as, gosh, he's so cocky, all he did was talk about how great he was and blah blah blah. And, you know,
Yeah.
men just aren't as savvy as women. Like, women are probably a little bit savvier at dropping things throughout their conversations and stories and stuff. But guys are pretty straightforward. You know, they're not as like sneaky as women. You know, I mean, sneaky might be not the right word, but men are just, you know, it is what it is with them, and they're just straightforward. So
Right.
yeah,
And
I
you
know
know,
that's sidetracked, but
no, no. And you know, like kind of fitting in with that is what I try to advise people to follow is the 3 date rule. And what I mean by that is not what most people think.
right,
But it is to give someone a minimum of 3 dates before you decide, before you make up your mind as to whether or not you are attracted to that person,
right,
because you need more information to make that decision. 60 to 90 minutes is just not going to give you all of the information that you need
right,
to determine whether or not this is someone worth pursuing. So
right,
commit before you even go out on your first date. You want to commit to taking the 3 date rule a little bit more seriously and actually following it. Make sure that you give yourself 3 dates with that person before you just come back and say, oh, well, there's just no chemistry. Well, you know, anyone can say that. And sometimes there's not chemistry on a first date. And I'm sure people who are listening that have heard me speak before, they know this is something I am have very strong beliefs on. And I think
yeah,
that we do each other a disservice by not taking the time to get to know someone.
yeah,
So, you know, if that guy comes off and he's bragging about his job and trying to, you know, show you all of his good qualities and the things that he's proud of, that, like you said, May, it does not necessarily mean he's arrogant. It does not necessarily mean anything other than he is just trying to show you some good parts of him. And maybe
right,
he's not the best at presenting it in the
right.
manner that you're accepting too.
And to piggyback on what you said about the 3 dates, I also think that it's like being friends with someone who's the same sex as you. You go out at least 3 times before you decide, do you want this person in my circle of friendship, like circle of friends? So
Mm-hmm.
just like how you pick out friends, you give them a chance. You don't just meet them once and write them off like, oh, they're not going to be a good friend. They're not going to be loyal. They're not going to be funny. They're not going to be, you know, someone I want to hang out with in the future. So it's how you date should, it's similar to how you let friends in your life. And also, like, women like to be pursued, and I know men do the pursuing. It's like, well, when should I stop pursuing her? Well, you
Never.
know, maybe you need to wear her down. Maybe you need to ask her out 3 times and get rejected 3 times. But, you know, you could do rule of 3, right? I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
keep trying to ask her out and see what she says. And maybe she finds you so charming when you get off the phone. She said no, but really she is busy. But next time you call her up, she's like, wow, this guy's persistent. You know, maybe I'll give him a chance. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had some date feedback from women that are like, no, I don't want to see him again. But the guy's like, I don't care. I'm going to ask her out because there's something about her that I really liked. And next thing you know, they're married. So you just never know. Just like Denise said, you just have to give them 3 dates. See what
Absolutely.
happens.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's funny because, you know, men have no business or no problems, I'm sorry, following this line of thought in business. You know,
Right.
they know that
Right.
in business they have to pursue, they have to be persistent, and they're going to ask 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times to close that deal or whatever the business
Right.
situation is. And so if you're doing it in business, then why not use that in your social and dating life?
Well, you know what they say in sales, Denise, that a person who buys from us, they need to be exposed to our products, our face, our brand, our newsletter 7 times before they'll even consider it. So
Hmm.
maybe women just need to be asked out 7 times or have 7 interactions with this guy. And finally she'll say yes because of familiarity, or, you know, she sees him in a different light. And that's why going on at least 3 dates is so important, that you see the guy 3 different times. Like his first date, he might have been stressed out. The second date, maybe his cat died. The
Yep.
third date, you know, maybe he just got a promotion, so he's distracted. But who knows? I mean, who knows what's going on? But if he looks good on paper, you just gotta give him a chance, because I'm tired of the women saying that there aren't enough good guys out there. And when the guys ask them
I
out,
know.
they're like not giving them a chance. It's like, hello, that's
Hmm.
totally not taking advice from, you know, experience and experts in this field.
Absolutely. And I think probably with you too, one of the things that I cannot stand is that after the first date, they come back with their feedback and say, oh, well, I just didn't feel that spark. So I'm going to just take a new one. Just find me another one. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. So
Right.
it's, this is all things that you and I are used to hearing and we're used to dealing with, but it's
Right.
good for us to be able to communicate it to all of the singles that are out there so that hopefully they can use this information and apply it in their own dating and social lives.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we talked a little bit about men being the pursuers and women who like to be pursued. And I know we kind of touched on this in our own private conversations, um, but sometimes we often hear, well, dating is just a game. What are your thoughts on the game of dating?
Dating is a game. And for you to win and for you to be smart is kind of what we just talked about, is giving the men a chance and women saying yes from being asked out. And dating is a game. I mean, for someone to tell you it's not, it's completely false, because it's kind of a competition. I mean, there are way more single women out there age 35 and above than single men of the same age. And even if it's the same age men, the men who are 35 don't want to date a woman who's 35. Not all the time. There, of course, are some guys out there, but a 35-year-old guy wants to date a 28, 29-year-old woman. So yeah, it is a game, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to be, lack of a better word, competitive, and play the game in a smart way to win. And I'm not saying be like devious and dishonest and things like that, but I'm saying be smart. A lot of women are so smart in their jobs and careers and climbing the corporate ladder and getting these promotions and all that stuff. If they would just apply the same thing to their dating lives, like, they're not going to quit getting that promotion just because someone passed them up. They're going to keep trying and keep going for it. It's like dating. Like, one guy doesn't work out, the first date doesn't work out, go again, try again, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, dating is most certainly a game.
Well, and the other analogy I like to use is it's kind of like business, where in dating, you have to create your own brand. And so you have to know, how do you want to market yourself, which goes into advertising and promoting. And what is your
Yes.
target market? And so there's all these analogies that can be made that parallel dating, that if you
Right.
think about dating as a business, and go through your mind, okay, if this was a business situation, what are the steps that I would take? And then apply that to your dating situation. Who do you want to meet? What is your target market, your target audience? Who do you come off as? What is your brand? How do you present yourself? And you have to really look at the entire package in order to, as you say, play the game.
Well, that's interesting. You brought up who's your target audience or target. Who is looking for you? I mean,
Yes.
the people you should be dating are the ones who are hitting on you. They're the ones who are attracted to you, obviously. So if you are, I don't know, for example, I have overweight women who come to us and they want a guy who's in shape, who's tall and fit. And it's like, well, you're not that. So how am I supposed to present you to him? Because not every guy who's tall and in shape and fit wants to date a woman who's overweight and unhealthy. So it's kind of like, well, the women should know and the men should know who's looking for you. That's who you're attracting. So if you don't like who you're attracting, then there's something you need to change about yourself that is going to help you attract who you want to meet. Because just
Yes.
because you sign up for a matchmaker or hire a matchmaker does not mean I could convince that hot guy to date you. I wish it was that easy. I would be rich.
But
But
one of the most frustrating things that I hear a lot is, I want someone to love me just the way that I am.
and that is great.
It
And for
is.
people to love you the way you are, then you need to go out with the guys who are asking you out.
Thank
And
you.
that is a great philosophy. I am all for that. If a guy wants a woman to love him for the way he is, then by all means, you better say yes to the women who say yes to you.
Yep, exactly.
Yes, and they're going to love you for the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just be mindful of who's targeting you.
Very, very good point. Very, very good point. So, you know, we're talking about confidence and pursuing and who should be dating, but how do you know when to give up? What are the indicators that there's just no chance? When do you quit the chase?
I mean, I think when you ask yourself, should I stop pursuing her? I think that's the time to stop pursuing her. If she's ignoring your calls, ignoring your texts, avoiding you in public, if she happens to bump into you, or if it's a coworker and you get the vibe that she's just not feeling it, then she's not feeling it. Just go with your intuition. And there are a lot of other women out there who would love the attention that you give them because they want to be pursued. So don't waste your time on people who are ignoring you. And if a guy texts her or calls her 3 times and she's not replying, then it's time to let go. And this actually brings me to another topic is what we discussed before, Denise, is how do you tell someone you're not interested? I mean, is it right to just ignore a guy's text after he took you out and, paid for the date and you said you wanted to go out again? That's the frustrating part is after a first date when you say it to his face that, oh yeah, I want to see you again. And then you start avoiding his calls and avoiding his texts. Oh, that's my biggest pet peeve. It's like, well, don't tell him that,
Right, right.
and
And
it's
that's
just,
so popular nowadays. Lady I know, Clarissa Silver, she's a behavioral scientist. She was on about a week or two ago and did a whole topic of ghosting and benching.
right.
And, that just seems to be the thing nowadays, which is putting somebody on a shelf and saving them for later, or, just disappearing completely and not paying attention to the phone calls or the text messages. And I just want to say, where are your manners? We
Right.
were
I
not
know.
brought up this way. If you're not interested, just be honest, just say so. There's no reason you can't let that person down gently with dignity and respect and
Right.
allow them to walk away with their dignity and respect. Just doing
I
the
know.
ghosting or the benching, it's an issue of your character, not theirs.
Well, again, this goes back to how would you behave in a business setting? If you had an
Mm-hmm.
account, a vendor who's trying to get your business, you don't just ignore them. You've had a conversation about their products before, and now they're still interested in selling you something, and just tell them no. You don't just ignore the phone calls, ignore the emails, ignore the texts, or whatever that may be. I think if anything that comes out of this video podcast thing we're doing is, gosh, singles out there, just tell the other person you're not interested. You don't have to lie. Just say
Mm-hmm.
we're just not a match. You're a great guy. I just don't see ourselves having the same goals or same values and whatnot. And I think we should stop seeing each other. And I wish you the best. Good luck out there. It's so
It,
simple,
it
however you
really
phrase
is.
it. But
Yeah.
even if you're afraid to just text it, I mean, if you're afraid to like have that conversation on the phone, you can text it and go back on your text to get it just right, or if anyone wants like a great, I don't want to see you again text, please message me at the end of this call. I'd be happy to give it to you. You can save it on your phone. You can use it again and again and again, and it will apply to everyone. But you at least let them know with dignity and respect that you're no longer interested. And then you just cut
Mhm.
ties with them and you move on. So, yeah.
And it's not that hard to do. It's really not, I mean, I think people are obviously, they're afraid to hurt someone's feelings, but by not
Right.
doing anything at all, you're really hurting that person even more.
Right. I agree.
Hmm. Hmm. So it's unfortunate, but it's the way that society is today. And, you mentioned you've got this great text. I'm not even a big fan of that, to be honest.
Right.
I would prefer you pick up the phone or at least go out on one last date and let them know you've enjoyed the time you spent together, but you don't want them to waste their time on you thinking that there's
Right.
something. And, just give them a little bit of something. Don't just leave them hanging. To me, it's a character thing.
Well, there's a degree of how to end it. Like if you just went on 1 or 2 dates, I think texting is fine. If you've become intimate, if you've slept with them, you certainly owe them an explanation in person, I think, or at very least a phone call.
Right.
But it just depends on how long you've been together, how serious it was.
I agree.
So,
I
yeah.
agree. Exactly. Yeah. And just letting them know that you're not interested, it takes so much pressure both off of you and the other person, because now it gives you that freedom to move on and to pursue somebody else. And it does,
Right.
when they have got that closure, they're not wondering, okay, well, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Why isn't this person returning my calls? So I think that it's really important that we put the time and the energy not only into dating and giving them a chance and using the 3 date rule, but also in letting them know, hey, if it didn't work out, be honest about it.
Right. And it's
Mm-hmm.
great after every breakup the two people learn a little bit more about themselves, about what they want in a relationship. So it's good. After every breakup, you just know you're that much closer to finding the one. That's all
Absolutely.
breakups are. So it's a good thing.
Well, it is. It's a learning experience, and we've got to be able to
Right.
learn from our mistakes, and I always tell people, after you've had these relationships or dating experiences, what you want to do is be able to take from it the lesson. And you want to keep the
Right.
lesson up here, but file the emotions away. You want to get past the
Yes.
emotions, but hold on to the lesson, because it's just going to make you even more what I call emotionally and relationshiply intelligent. And it's going to give you more tools so that when you do find the right one, you know exactly what you're doing. It
Right.
helps you to determine your boundaries. It helps you to determine what it is that you will tolerate and what you will not. And it's
Right.
really, dating can be fun or it can be frustrating. It's more or less just an opportunity for you to learn and for you to grow as a person. So take it as a blessing. And, if you get frustrated or you get what I call that dating fatigue, it might be time to take a little break. It might be time to ask for some help, whether it be from someone like May or myself, who's actually in the industry, or even friends or, close family. But if you're doing something and you're not getting the results, I think the key factor is you've got to learn from what your past is telling you and really be able to reach out and ask the appropriate people for help.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. So, what else do you want to talk about as far as the marriage minded or just dating aspect, May?
Oh gosh, we touched on a lot of things already.
I know.
I did write some other things down as far as marriage minded. I think we covered that a lot. I think you were talking about, you know, after a breakup to talk to someone. I think it's very important that even when people are in a relationship, that they talk to their married friends or someone who's an expert, who have been married for 30 years, 40 years, someone who's not like your single friends. Like your single friends might not have your best interests at heart because they want a wingman, a wingwoman for them to go out with you. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
best advice you can seek is from someone who's currently in a relationship or someone who's married or someone, like a date coach or a matchmaker or someone like that. I think it's really important. It's great to talk to your single girlfriends about the guys and stuff like that, but you should also reach out to your married friends.
Well, and if I can add to that a little bit, I think it's a really good point because sometimes your friends, they, like you say, they do want to keep you single because they do want their running buddies. But even more so than that, you've got to realize that they're also single for a reason. And
Right.
they might be not necessarily giving you the best advice. They could be like, oh, well, yeah, he was a jerk, or I didn't like this about him. And, or, vice versa, man or woman. And they may be giving you just the encouragement you need to get through that particular breakup, not necessarily the advice or the lesson that you need to learn from the situation. And you
Right.
go back to that, all men are assholes and all women are crazy. And it's like, if that's all you're hearing from your friends, it might be time to start talking to other people about your dating situation and not necessarily those ones in particular.
Yep. I agree. I agree. I haven't heard that. All women are crazy and all men are assholes. Is that
Uh,
what you just said?
it's unfortunate, but I hear it all the time. If you think about the clients that you have coming in, that some of them are not necessarily ready to start dating because they're still hurt from a past relationship or
Mhm.
holding that anger, going through the grieving process or whatnot, and they're in that anger stage. I hear a lot of that. They just blame it all on the guys or the girls, and they tend to stereotype and overgeneralize.
Yeah.
So, you do hear it, and it's really sad because it tells me that they're not open to growing.
Right. Right. I
Hmm.
know. So, on the topic of marriage minded, and I know we get a lot of readers who ask us, well, when should you have the talk about being exclusive?
The
What are your thoughts on that,
exclusivity talk.
Denise? What do you tell your clients?
Well, the people that I work with as clients, you've got to understand it. They're in a different situation than the singles that are out there trying to do it on their own. And
Mhm.
there's a couple of things that make them different. Number one, like we said earlier, they're committing both emotionally and financially, and they've made it a priority. They're open to growing, they're open to learning, they're open to suggestions, advice, and feedback. And so they've really put themselves on a different level than, say, someone who's just online dating and going out with a variety of different
Mhm.
people. And so typically, when I do the matchmaking aspect of it, I tend to only give them one match at a time. And
Mhm.
I give them obviously enough time to go out 3, 4, 5, 6 times. But as far as when to have that exclusivity talk, I recommend it, if you know that you're going somewhere after the third date, just bring it up. But, for singles who aren't working with other matchmakers or singles who are doing this on their own, you might seem a little bit off base if you use that rule of three or fours here because you don't know their level of sincerity. You don't know what their intentions are. And
Right.
so, my advice in that situation is going to be wait a little while, see how each date goes, and then go back to some of the things we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. Are they reporting to you? Are they planning their futures with you? Are they making future plans with you, say a month or two in advance? Where have you met their friends? Have you met their family? And I think if you use all of these indicators, then it's time to have that talk. If
Yeah.
they pass on all of these particular things that we're talking about, then definitely don't hesitate. And if you don't have that talk and you don't bring it up, then you have absolutely no business getting upset if you see them out with someone else.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know. It's I know a lot of people want the advice of, well, after 3 months or after 4 months, like they want a number, but every case is different. Every situation is
Mhm.
different. And you can feel it though. You can feel if that person really digs you and really is into you, or you just feel like they're a little bit off. Like, oh, something's weird. Like he's not, I don't know what he's doing on a Friday night or Saturday night. He never tells me, like
Right.
someone who wants to be with you, like you said, will report to you, will tell you almost too many details of what's going on in their lives, which that drives my boyfriend nuts when he says, oh, how's your day going? And I like tell him every single detail that's happened since I woke up. He's like,
Yeah.
I didn't ask about that, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it's,
it's just,
is someone reporting to you? Are they making plans with you in the future? Have you met their friends? Have you met their family? These are all things that say, okay, I'm interested. Now, if you're the one who's wondering, is this exclusive? At that point, absolutely, you've got to bring it up. And, there is no magic number, like you said. That's not the third date. It's not 3 months. It's not the fifth date. There's no number. You've got to learn to trust your instinct. You've got to
Right.
learn to read the other person, to be able to interpret the dating relationship that you have, and really focus on the progression. And if you're comfortable bringing it up, then my advice is just do it. There's no
Right.
reason not to. And if you don't, then it's probably going to not end in your best interest, because you didn't have the courage to speak up.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So what else should we touch upon tonight? I think we pretty much covered all the topics we wanted to cover.
I think
Oh,
so.
what do you tell your male clients if actually I'm sorry, what do you tell your female clients if they think they should ask the man out? We talked about men pursuing women, but do you teach your
Yeah.
women to pursue the men or no?
I have my own personal beliefs about this, and I may be considered a little old school when it comes to it. But my personal beliefs is I really do believe that the men should be given that power to be masculine and to do the masculine areas of the relationship. And the women that are nowadays, the feminist women are wanting to succeed in life and go far. That's great, I'm all for it. But when it comes to dating, you've got to understand that it's your job to allow the man to be the man. You can be all for equal rights for women, equal pay for women, equal this, equal that, and you can take your feminism everywhere you want to. But when it comes to dating, you have to understand that there's always going to be that mix of feminine and masculine energy. And just because a guy goes to open the door for you does not mean you're not capable of opening it yourself. That's him showing you a sign of respect. Just because a guy wants to carry your bags for you doesn't mean that he thinks you're weak enough and you can't do it yourself. He's trying to show you respect. And so I think there's a lot of women that are in some very high, powerful business situations that get misled with that, because they do take it into their dating world and it becomes very frustrating. And
Yeah,
so,
I love when guys open the doors for me or even strangers. They help
yes,
me, they leave the door open for me. I have no problems with that.
exactly.
I don't mind that at all.
Exactly. And it's really sad to me that some women actually take offense to that. And it's really just learning the balance of masculine and feminine energy and letting the man do the man's part. And,
Right.
you need to allow yourself to be a woman when it comes to dating. Allow
Yes.
yourself to feel feminine, to put on a pretty dress, and, don't show up for a date in a, button up shirt all the way up to your neck and a business suit. Put on a flowery dress and allow yourself to be feminine. But when it comes to a woman asking a man out, I think that if you have enough feminine qualities that you present yourself as feminine and you're not using all of the masculine energies when you do ask that man out, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I really don't think so, but I think that you have to keep that balance between knowing, not so much knowing, but just allowing the man to be the man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
I love when guys carry my bags or, I don't
Yes.
mind the guys paying on the first date. I'd be happy to contribute on the second or third or fourth date or whatever that may be. And I just think that, like you said, the women need to let the guys be the man, let the man be the man so they feel needed. They feel like, oh, there is a reason why they want you in their lives, not, oh, I could do everything myself. It's
Mhm.
just, then why does he need to be there? Why does he need to be in a relationship with you if you don't need him? So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not even so much a need. I think, when we can get into this topic if we want another time, because need versus want is one that I could go on for hours with. But it's really just allowing them to be the man. It's allowing them to
Right.
have that masculine energy and power over the relationship. And you don't need to be a damsel in distress for this. You don't need to be weak. You don't need to,
Right.
pretend to be something you're not. But what you do need to realize is that there is that yin and yang that makes each relationship work. And if you're trying too hard to be the man in the relationship when you're the woman, you're probably going to butt heads. And
Yeah.
so, my advice is just allow your inner feminine energy to blossom and to be that person when you're with him, and let him be the guy.
But there are women that can't change that. That's who they are. They do have very dominant type A kind of personality. And my advice to them is you need to find someone who's actually okay with taking some orders from you, someone who's an
Absolutely.
opposite of you. Because
Absolutely.
the type A women who come to me want to meet other guys who are more of a type A. It's not going to work. Like they don't
Yeah,
want that.
it's
The
it's
guys aren't
that,
looking for
yeah.
that. So
It's a mix of that balance. There's too much masculine and energy in a relationship like that there's never gonna be a happy medium. There's never gonna be a balance. If a woman wants to meet a guy and she's very strong-willed and very type A personality, there's nothing wrong with that, but she
right,
kind of needs a guy who's going to be a little bit more feminine so that they
right.
can have that yin and yang, they can find that balance together. And, I'm not saying change who you are as that woman, but I'm saying just use all of those things in business, use all of those things to further your career. But when it comes to dating, channel your inner girl, and really just focus on your inner girl. And the bottom line is this: if you need to be that woman and that woman in control and in charge, and you bring that to dating, then you better find a guy who doesn't mind being told what to do.
Right, right. Which is not a bad thing. I
It's
see a
not.
lot of very successful couples that get along very, very well and it works for
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
And it can work in a variety of different situations as long as that balance remains intact. And I
Right.
think that's really the key factor, is that balance of the masculine and feminine energies.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, well, May,
Well,
thank you so much for this. I want to let everyone know. I know we've got a couple of people that have jumped in and off on the Blab platform. If you are on the Blab platform and not watching us from my website, which is www.missmatchmakerlive.com, you can go over there now and you can view our page where we are broadcasting live. There's a couple of offers there for everyone that is watching. There is a way to contact May. If you'd like to speak with her directly, you can click on a link to contact May. And then there's also a few things that you can do as far as subscribing and signing up for notifications. And if you do so, then you'll come down on the page and you'll see where you can submit your profile to May. You can also submit your profile to me. And I'm also offering for all of our viewers a special discount promo code that they can use to schedule a strategic planning consultation. So that's all on the Miss Matchmaker Live page if you want to jump over to that spot and take advantage of those things. And also for the people locally here in Destin, we do have a couple of free services from Planet Beach Spray and Spa. So that's another thing you can take advantage of over there. And then, May, do you want to go ahead and toss out a little bit of information as far as contacting you other ways? Maybe throw a
oh
link in the.
yeah.
Yeah, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the other social media platforms, Pinterest, find us, and of course, Facebook. I'm all over that. And, please connect with me. I know Denise has said that we have a profile, so I would love for any women out there who wants to fill out a free profile to be part of our database. You do get matched up for free. Doesn't cost you anything. And we'd love to meet you. So yeah, thank you, Denise, for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you for coming tonight, May. This was a great conversation, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime soon.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Okay, have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Bye.